The Dateable podcast is an insider's look into modern dating that the Huffington Post calls one of the top 10 podcasts about love and sex. I'm your host, Yue Xu, former dating coach turned dating sociologist. You'll also hear from my co-host, Julie Krafchick. On each episode, we'll talk to real daters about everything, from sex parties to sex droughts, date fails to diaper fetishes, and first moves to first loves. We are excited you've joined us for an older episode. While our earlier seasons were all about dating in San Francisco, we quickly realized all the themes and learnings are universal for all daters. So we shifted to covering dating from all around the world as the seasons progress. The fun part is, things happen first in San Francisco, the tech epicenter and counterculture capital of the world. We love for you to keep tuning in to our older episodes, but there is no set order to listen in, so feel free to jump to more recent seasons or relevant episodes for you. Enjoy the show.
I was so excited to get my shipment from Last Bottle Wines in the mail the other day, full of incredible red wines, all from Napa Valley. I love wine tasting, so having this to my door couldn't be happier. Also, couldn't be more excited that today's episode is brought to you by Last Bottle Wines. If you don't know already, they're a Napa-based online wine shop with a twist. They offer just one handpicked wine per day until it sells out, and they're always at incredible prices. We're talking 30 to 70% off retail. And the best part is that there's no subscriptions, no fees, and no minimum purchase. And I could not be more excited to bring this offer right now because they're having a marathon sale, which is coming up March 28th and 29th. Even better, we're offering Dateable listeners 10% off your first order with code DATEABLE. So if you are a wine lover like me, this is a great time to join. And did I mention that shipping is 100% free? So what are you waiting for? Mark your calendar for March 28th and 29th, or get on it earlier if you want. You can sign up at lastbottlewines.com and use code DATEABLE and find out why Last Bottle is the most fun way to discover and buy amazing wine. As you know, I recently left my corporate job and I've been in total recovery mode, all about self-care. One of my new routines is the nighttime shower before bed. There's just something about washing away the day and that reflection that's been super helpful for me. I've been using one of our partners, Osea's Mega Moisture Duo. This combo body oil and body lotion are so freaking incredible. It literally feels like I'm at a spa. I realized that the secret is seaweed and other skin level ingredients that are normally reserved for face products. And that's why I was so excited when Osea became one of our partners. And, we're so grateful for partners like this because one, they keep the show going, but they're also super good for all of our listeners and for our own well-being. So if you want to have that nighttime bliss like I am doing, you can get 10% off your first order site-wide with code DATEABLE at oseamalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. So head to oseamalibu.com and use the code DATEABLE for 10% off. Let us know which products you end up going with. Share them in social. Super excited to see what you end up choosing.
The Dateable podcast is hosted by Yue, that's me, and my co-host Michael Vargas. Michael's a dating coach who holds a master's in clinical psychology, and I, a former dating coach in New York, am now an active dater in San Francisco. This episode of Dateable is brought to you by 500 Brunches. 500 Brunches connects like-minded people with similar interests to meet in real life over brunch. You answer a quick questionnaire about your interests and how you spend your time, and then they'll match you in small groups of 6 to 8 at a brunch spot in San Francisco. Get a free entry into a brunch now by signing up at 500brunches.com and using the code DATEABLE. On the last episode, we hung out with Amanda Bradford, CEO and founder of the League dating app, and we were able to get a glimpse into her dating life.
As soon as people match with me, they start assuming that I'm looking at all their data as if I have A, the time, and B, the interest. He had a really hard time dealing with the fact that I was the ROI on cooking is not there for us, especially as one person, even when there's two.
What are some of the issues that you're still facing here?
And a little bit of everyone's pretty selfish, myself included. Well, that's the big argument of does an alpha need a beta? If you look at the comments on my article, a ton of them were girl, you need a beta male, call me.
On this episode, we continue our conversation with Amanda, more specifically about the inner workings of the League app itself.
What is it like running your own dating app?
It's super weird.
Did you ever think, like 10 years ago, did you ever think, I'm gonna start my own dating app?
No, and I think that I was like, the people that are in that industry are crazy, and they are.
It's an interesting
They are. I mean, it's actually the online dating in general, not now. I like to say we're in a new era, like post-Tinder era, but the pre-Tinder era, online dating sites were literally not far on the spectrum from porn sites. Like they had a different skin. They talked about dating instead of like naked girls, but like lots of them shared the same like back-end infrastructure. A lot of them were owned by the same companies. A lot of them moved users back and forth. Like guys that were horny would go to a dating site, and then you could get kind of funneled into these like naked girls chatting free live stuff. So it's like, it's a skeezy industry. And so that was, again, one of the reasons like why I want to kind of create this like classy place that's like very separated from that. And even some of the dating apps today that we're using, that all my friends are using, I'm like, that is literally a fake profile. Like, please believe me. And they're like, no, there's hotter profiles on this app, Amanda, and I won't say the name, but I'm like, no, that is the like dirty underbelly of this industry. They are feeding you hot profiles from all over the world because they want you to think that this app is full of like gorgeous supermodels. So anyway, I get frustrated because the space is just not really known for having like kind of a ton of ethics and standards. And Silicon Valley doesn't really like the dating space. Like it's very hard to raise funding for dating sites. It's there hasn't been a ton of really successful exits. I think partially because people go after the like quick buck of like, oh, horny men, let me like see how much money I can extract from horny men. And so they all end up being like lifestyle businesses that, are like between $5 and $10 million in revenue, and most people just kind of cash out. And so it's just like a very crazy space, and I cannot believe I'm in it now. And I got asked to be on a panel that was called like the vice industry, and I was like, oh my God, my parents must be so proud of their daughter who is like forging ahead in the vice industry. It was like me, drugs, sex, like cannabis, a gambling startup. So it was like
same thing.
We were all bucketed together into this like.
You guarantee that all the profiles on the League are true.
Yeah. I mean, at the extent of, even giving you like less than great matches sometimes. But yeah, we've never made a fake profile, and we actually kick people out that are inactive. So it's, we make sure everybody has LinkedIn, Facebook friends, their names match, their schools match. I mean, it's pretty hard to kind of fake all that stuff. And then if people are sketchy, we kick them out. So we kind of we spend a lot of like time and money and resources on like our concierge system that's enforcing quality, and even girls complaining about like getting stood up from a date or having a guy ask them for sex on a first date, like we'll kick people off for that. And so it's been interesting to see just kind of the issues that come up. Like, I mean, one example was a guy who's polyamorous, right? I mean, his profile kept getting flagged over and over and over again because it said, hey, I'm in an open relationship and I'm looking for someone. And so we had like a huge company-wide debate around like, do we kick people out for being polyamorous? But we got, they got over 10 flags. Typically we kick out at 3 flags. And so, he was really upset, and there's like just things I would have never thought that I had to deal with. Or like one woman went on a date with a guy that was like freshly divorced, but it wasn't official yet, so they were still like married. And he didn't tell her that, and then he told her on the date, and he also told her he wasn't ready to like get into a serious relationship because he was out of a like 12-year marriage. And then she got upset because she felt led on, and she asked for him to get kicked out. And so we had a company meeting around like, what should our policy be on kind of misleading people before a date. And so it's interesting because we are so like white glove and almost to a fault in some ways, because then we get into like playing a little bit of Big Brother and like defining like community standards and guidelines and like how should people date nowadays. And
what were the decisions on those two?
We decided that like we're still going to keep up with like if the crowd is voting like that someone's profile needs to be removed over and over again. Like I think regardless of what they say, like that's we need to do what's the best for the community. It's interesting because we do have the power to like not do that, and so it is weird to like have that power of like, should we keep him in the community, and should we be open-minded and progressive, and it's not necessarily like what I believe. I guess it's just sort of like we need to kind of work with our users that are, we're going to be supported by our users, right? Ultimately, they're going to be the ones hopefully paying us at some point. So we need to do what's in the best interest of like the 80% case. So for that, we decided that. And then for the kicking people out, it's tough. I mean, I think for that one, we actually didn't kick him out. We gave him a warning being like, you need to let people know before you meet them that you're not interested in a relationship and you're still married, but you're separated, and make sure you're like really clear about that. So we give a lot of coaching.
What have been some really good wins for you guys, or something that you're really excited about or really proud of that the app has done?
I mean, we have a ton of marriages, which is crazy because we've been around a year, and I'm like, I haven't even like dated one guy for a year, much less like getting married after a year. It blows my mind. But yeah, and a lot of people, it was like one of their like first or second league dates, which I guess kind of sucks because now we lost like 2 users right away without getting any money from them. So I was like, guys, we need to put monetization in ASAP. Yeah, I haven't been invited to any, which I was kind of bummed at. I was like, dude, I'm like your matchmaker. Just because I'm like behind an app doesn't mean I'm not like your, what is the Jewish word for matchmaker? Yenta. Yeah, I'm their Yenta.
How many marriages?
I've gotten texts from about 8 people, and so I can't imagine. I imagine it must be like 3x the people that I know, right?
These are people who've met and dated for less than a year who are getting married.
Are they older?
30s or young 30s.
That's an interesting statistic.
I didn't really, but we haven't collected it too well, so it's all anecdotal, and I also don't want to like super publicize it because I really don't want to be like the eHarmony where you like join the league to get married, because like that freaks me out.
But I think it's a mindset. I think that speaks to the mindset of people who are on the league.
Yeah, they're just more serious and they're taking dating seriously, and if they find someone that works, like they're ready,
Have you like learned anything about dating culture in other cities that you can reflect back?
I don't move to New York.
As a woman, don't do it.
That I was like, I am doing literally. So I have 2 profiles. I have Mandy, who's New York, and I have Amanda, who's San Francisco. And and Mandy, I actually think Mandy's pretty cute. Like, is a little cuter than Amanda because she, she shows a little more skin. Like her hair's down, a little bit more, like a little more flirty photos, and it is crazy. Like either the New York guys are super picky, or there's just a ton of beautiful women, or probably both. I mean, I think they're probably related. But my score, like my league score, is about like 10% different. So like 10% more people like me in San Francisco than in New York, with like pretty much the same.
Do you think more people know you here though compared to there?
Yeah, I mean, it could be that, but I don't think, I looked at it like back in, it's New York, because if you look at the New York like averages, like the average female is just like much higher performing than the average female in San Francisco, and the guys are much more picky. So if you look at their pickiness score, like they reject a lot more people in New York.
What's the league score and the pickiness score? Are these publicized or these are internal?
They're internal. Like we let you sort by like flakiness and by like most popular. So it's like, it's essentially like it's like how many people that have seen you that swipe right.
But only you guys know this.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of our like internal, I mean, it's a big part of the algorithm, so.
Right, okay.
So yeah, we have to see it when we're kind of debugging stuff. But yeah, so it's like literally 10% more. I have a 10% lift in San Francisco than in New York, which is crazy for like the same photo. So I don't know. And then there's a lot more, there's more women than men in New York. And it seems like a lot of our like complaints about guys being like, oh, I thought we were going to sleep with each other on this date, like being assholes, are like all from New York. Like almost all our douchebag dudes that we either kick out or are trying to like, hook up really obviously, like, let's meet up at 1 a.m. and like, what size is your bra? Like that kind of stuff. All from New York.
So ladies of San Francisco, do not be discouraged.
Yeah, be thankful that we have a nicer gentleman here.
I do find men in San Francisco more respectful of women.
For sure. And I mean, literally, if you just look at the people, I kind of want to do a blog post about the people we've kicked out of the league, but and like do a little bit of a public hanging, but I'll probably get sued. But but it's literally like it's all New York, like almost all of the guys. I mean, a couple in San Francisco, but
they probably came from New York.
yeah.
I want to talk about your waiting list. Okay. This is like the ultimate mystery.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first signed up for the league, I was like 60,352nd, place. Who's the person who gets to decide who gets in?
So it's actually like pretty convoluted process. It's a variety of stuff. So we look at, like, there's like a bunch of, think of it as a funnel, right? So there's a bunch of things you need to like have to even get into the funnel. So one is like 6 photos. So like people like sometimes import Facebook photos, they don't have 6, so like they're kind of in purgatory. Like we don't even put them in the funnel. And then if like you don't have your information filled out, and so then once you're in the funnel, we have like a prioritization algorithm. And then I have girls that go through and make sure the photos are like respectful, high quality, like you can see their face, no sunglasses. Like we try to kind of send them, and then they get an automated email if their photos are like not up to snuff, so they can fix them. So we try to give everyone an opportunity to like kind of make their profile league worthy, is what we call it. But the idea is like, it's almost like a college admissions. Like you spend so much time on your college admissions, like take a little bit of time with your dating profile, like put a tiny bit of like, I don't know, 2 minutes into it, and don't like import a photo of you doing a keg stand from college when you're like 27. And yeah, I mean, oh my God, there's like guys that have like, their first photo is like 2 girls with bikinis next to them with their like shirt off.
I mean,
Whoa, there's nothing wrong with that. We're just saying we're having a fun time at the beach.
Yeah. But it's a little bit of like the first impression of the app. I mean, we think of it as like, imagine everyone's a brand new user. If that's the first person they get in their feed, and we've kind of promised them this sort of like, more upscale, more, serious people that are interested in dating, like showing a guy like crushing a beer on his head as your first person you see in your feed, like that's not a good experience. So yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. And then we try to look at the, if your friends that have referred you, we try to give priority to our members. So it's a lot of like little factors like that.
Every profile gets reviewed?
Every profile, at least their first photo, gets reviewed.
By a human?
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, we have a system that's pretty, I mean, you can kind of like Tinder it, if you will. So it's like, you can scroll through and see, it's usually like picking the ones that have bad photos and like trying to email them. And so yeah, I mean, we could automate it, and we probably will put technology in, so we're not being like, oh yeah, sunglasses, because that's just, so we're working on that.
And that waiting list, is that real? Is that number real, or is it just to really like intimidate people?
No, that's, I mean, I guess it's a little bit misleading in the sense that we changed it now because we got some feedback on it. So now it tells you like your San Francisco wait list and then like global wait list. It's not like all those people were like in San Francisco in line ahead of you. So, but it kind of sound, maybe we should have kept it ambiguous so it sounds even crazier. But
one thing I really like, because I've recently been on the league, and one thing I really like about it is that you mentioned this too, that you kick people out if they're inactive. And I've seen the concierge kind of like stress like,
oh yeah, we're about to send another one out.
Okay, like women send messages, and like, so I think that is a huge issue with online dating. It's like there's so much fatigue that no one messages.
I think it's gotten worse too with, I don't know if it's our new upgrade or what, but we've gotten more complaints around, honestly, I think we are encouraging the girls to message first, and there's other apps out there that now let the girl message first, and I don't know if guys are getting like lazy or something, but it is, I feel like the guys' response rate has gone down, which is weird. And I think it's honestly like a combination of like timing. Like I don't message back a lot. Like if I know I'm gonna be out of town, or I'm just like, man, I'm not into dating right now. I mean, like a lot of times you check these apps, but you're not really like in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm like that too, and so it's hard for us to like vet that, because I am checking it every day, so I wouldn't have like a bad score, but then I don't respond to people, and so then my flaky score goes up, but that's, and I get deprioritized a little bit in the algorithm, but for the most part, guys don't know not to message me, right? So I think it's hard because it's hard to know where people are and kind of the like, how serious you are about dating. So I think it is, and it's really hard to kind of put that into the algorithm, that kind of like intent.
And how do you quantify that, because I don't think most people don't know their intent anyway.
And I think also people have like FOMO in the sense where like they go on the app and they like people because they kind of want to see what's out there, but you don't necessarily want to you don't want to miss out, but you don't necessarily want to start anything, because there is activation effort involved. Like, I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like, there's some great guys that like want to meet for drinks, and I'm like, the amount of effort's like, kind of book that into my schedule, like get off your couch when you're watching House of Cards or whatever it is, and like you do have to kind of really want it, or like want to be engaged in that. And so I do think it's just tough. It's like timing. It's trying to align everyone's timing, and it's something I don't think anyone's really figured out yet.
So I really like the fact that it's a little bit of effort, because like you were saying earlier or earlier at one point, where it's so interesting when people have different levels of efforts going into the relationship. So here there has to be a little bit more effort put in, which I think would be a better indicator for a relationship working out.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, if both people are getting off their couch and meeting for coffee, like that's a huge first step. And then, you know, that's like the hurdle that we're trying to overcome.
Have you guys thought about eventually publicizing your flakiness score?
We have. I actually had it on the roadmap, but I took it off because, I don't know, I think we want to think about how to build that into whether it's monetization or some sort of feature that kind of helps improve that person's, you know, overall kind of like profile. So whether it's flaky, whether it's a league score, whether it's how picky they are. I mean, that is like a whole really interesting topic. If you look at how picky users are, and then you also look at their score, and you're like, the math doesn't work. If you're rejecting 99% of people, and also 99% of people are rejecting you, like, then you complain to us about not getting matches. Like, it's, like, do the math, but they don't see all those numbers.
Two things. I have two questions to ask you, and we're going to wrap this up. One is, what are you ultimately looking for? Marriage?
I want a funny guy.
A funny guy.
Yeah, I feel like I've never dated a funny guy, and it's like on my bucket list.
You've never dated a funny guy?
Like a guy like funnier than me that's like funny. I feel like the funny guys have been disappearing. I don't know what's going on, but it is like very rare that I meet a guy that is like laugh out loud funny.
A little tip is a thing called improv.
Yes, Michael's all about improv.
Really?
Wait, have you met Michael Vargas?
I updated my league profile with like that. I was like, I'm looking for someone funnier than me.
Okay. But are you avoiding my question? Are you looking for marriage?
I mean, I grew up with, you know, my parents are married for whatever, 50 years now. And I do think, you know, I want to have kids. I think you want to raise kids with two people. Raising a kid is better than one person in general. They have two loving parents. So I do think, yeah, eventually I do, but I'm also not looking to like accelerate that artificially just because of like my age or because everyone around me is posting engagement photos or anything like that. So I'm very much about like the right person versus the right time.
Okay. What are some tricks people need to keep in mind when if they want to be successful on the league?
Oh, I have a lot. I have a lot of little tricks.
Okay.
I think the first one is like be open-minded, because the more people you kind of like and are open to, the more people that see you. So you kind of, your profile gets seen by more people, and we do kind of reward people that log in every day and aren't like super, super picky, because we don't want to like reward the picky people. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind. I also think like the first photo really is, unfortunately, like I'd love to say it's like all your interests and you're about me, and I think that stuff does matter more in the league than other apps, but you know, no matter how much, like that first photo is a first impression. And so, like I said, when it's you know, doing a keg stand as your first photo, like, you know, you're probably not going to get as many likes as like one with your grandma or one with your dog and stuff. And so, you know, we have actually seen like dog photos, sport photos do really well. Professional photos do really well for guys.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think it shows that they're like putting effort into like the whole kind of system. And I think for women, it shows that like, oh, he might not just be about like a one night stand, because he has these like photos that he's trying to really kind of present himself. And so I think it's probably a more psychological reason to that. But we have seen professional photos do much better than like blurry Facebooky ones. What other tips? I think, yeah, not doing group shots, because especially I always say don't do group shots when you have a friend that's more attractive than you, like ever.
You would think that's a given.
No, people all the time do it. They're like with some like supermodel friend, and then you're like, why are you doing that? Like everyone just gets disappointed, and then it's just. I think some other tips are, yeah, I mean, I think messaging first. Like we do see, I mean, the study just came out, I think from New York Times, that like women that message first do better on online dating.
Really?
Yeah, you guys should Google it. It's It's just, it is, because it's like the guys are so used to getting rejected and ghosted and all that, that like when a woman reaches out, they're like, oh wow, this is great. This is like probably gonna, we could meet up for coffee. And so they'll like put more time into that match than like messaging all their other like women that they have in their queue, right? So, so I always encourage my girlfriends to message, like, I was like, pick your top 3 favorite guys in your match queue and message them. Like, why not?
What about getting off the wait list?
If you have a VIP ticket, so we give everyone in the league like 1 pass to give a friend, so that bumps you up a lot, like that gets you in a lot faster. And then the other stuff is just like the profile filled out. So if it's like a super blank profile or you don't have anything listed on your LinkedIn, like there's a lot of people that just like create LinkedIn accounts for the sake of signing up, and then they don't say anything about what they do or their education, or they don't have any interest. So they're kind of like, I call them like ghost profiles. I'm like, who are you? Trying to optimize a lot of it is like backlog on us. So we're trying to optimize a lot of the operations so that people aren't waiting so long, but we had a lot of technical debt to get out of. So it was a lot of, it's not you, it's us.
What are any future plans that you have for the league?
So we have a lot of plans. I think for me, like one of the big features I want to build is kind of for the anti-online daters. So a lot of people like just don't really like this kind of stiff meeting for coffee or drinks and the whole one-on-one, like you're kind of on an interview, like the whole thing is like stilted and very, transactional. And I'm personally fine with it because I think it's efficient or whatever, but a lot of people are like, it's not romantic, there's like no serendipity. And so we're really trying to bring in like the offline component into the apps. Oh, another good example is like we don't ever have events for LGBT, and we always get a lot of flack for that. And I'm like, let's have people that are kind of our captains that can start these events, and we can enable them or give them funding or whatever it might be, so that our members can kind of like, because then you're meeting like 10, 20 people in 1 hour, whereas you could be meeting one douchebag for 1 hour. So it's actually more efficient use of your time if you can get everyone to like go to an event or a concert or whatever it might be, music in the park.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up. You guys don't forget to submit your stories, and you can always remain anonymous. We don't have to use your real name or anybody's real name. You can be anybody you want. Thanks so much, Amanda, for being here. And
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, this was super fun.
Michael, wrap it up.
Stay dateable.
The most efficient way to meet new people is a combination of online and offline. 500 Brunches has your offline covered. Connect over brunch with new friends. Come alone or bring a buddy. There is always a table full of friendly faces, mimosas, and eggs Benedict. Sign up at 500brunches.com and use the code DATEABLE for a free entry.
To connect with us, visit dateablepodcast.com.